Yeah. So, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining GARV and Affiliates webinar on budget. So, GARV and Affiliates is a registered network of chartered accountants firm. GARV and Associates is one of the prominent member of GARV and Affiliates. So, GARV and Associate is amongst the prominent audit and financial consultancy firm in India. So, as far as our numbers are concerned, we are 10 partners, 20 plus qualified resources. We have 5 India touch points. So we have our presence across India. We are in Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, Guwahati, along with Kolkata, which is our head office, in fact. So we are established in 1949. So we have an experience of 70 plus years in this line, in this consultancy wing. And we have 75 plus resources in Kolkata. This is our strength. And we do all types of audit and all types of audit related services. This includes valuation, corporate finance, and everything. So let me first start with an introduction of our panel members. I am Sandeep Sharma, Managing Partner at GARV and Associates. I have with me Mr. Ashish Rastogi, Direct Tax Partner at GARV, and other senior partners, Mr. Vikash Parak and Mrs. Anshuma Rastogi, handling indirect taxes at GARV. So at the outset, let's understand the background when this budget was presented by Finance Minister. There was an ongoing pandemic over last 2 years with third wave still continuing, strict lockdowns from starting from first wave to till date, in fact, and by which we are still badly, our economy is badly hit. And we have upcoming elections in the major states, and oil prices are at its peak in recent time. In this backdrop, a matured and consistent approach is adopted in the budget presented by Finance Minister to achieve a medium to long-term objective. So the budget seems to be progressive and growth oriented, in fact. And I see in the budget 3 things: innovation, inclusivity, and infrastructure. It will help in India's progress towards its aspiration of a $5 trillion economy. The budget puts a huge focus on infrastructure and logistics, which is a welcome move and will ensure a robust growth in the long run. Capital expenditure increased substantially by 35%, around 35%. Announcement of PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. The postal and railway networks are to be integrated. National highways are to be expanded by 25,000 kilometers. 8 ropeways project of 60 kilometers are to be awarded under the PPP model. Further, there is a focus on startups and SMEs as well. Relief to the small businesses and startups coupled with steps taken towards digitization, in fact, namely drone Shakti, digital university, digital banking and payments, EVs, launch of 5G services, and digital rupee will provide new opportunities for young emerging India. Even on the direct tax front, status quo has been maintained on the tax rates for most taxpayers. Now we have further clarity on the taxation aspect of virtual digital asset. The direct tax proposal seems to be based on the premise of ease of doing business, promoting voluntary compliances, reducing litigations, and rationalization measures. Taxation and compliances for trust has undergone a significant change, in fact. And I would request our tax partner, Mr. Ashish Rastogi, to deliberate on the issue in detail for everybody's interest. On the indirect tax front, the budget continued to rationalize various customs duty exemption. And the key misses, if you talk on the budget, includes maybe rationalization of the income tax slabs, hike in ATC limits, maybe hike in standard deduction, maybe some home work from home tax benefits which were expected, which leaves, but this were not there, in fact. So which leaves common man expectations unfulfilled, in fact. But as explained by the finance minister after the budget speech, that even not increasing the tax slab should be considered in fact, a big relief for common man considering the pandemic situation. On an overall basis, if you see, the budget seems to provide a booster dose for sustainable growth in the short term to medium term. So we have our eminent speakers from industry, in fact, Mr. Gyanesh Chaudhary and Mr. Ravi Todi, who is with us, in fact. Mr. Gyanesh Chaudhary is the Vice Chairman and Managing Director of Vikram Solar Limited. He is the business leader, visionary, and among the pioneers in the field of solar energy. Mr. Gyanesh Chaudhary is the driving force behind Vikram Solar. Under his leadership, Vikram Solar has become the largest Indian solar module manufacturer and renewable energy solution provider. Mr. Ravi, the second guest, Mr. Ravi Todi, is the managing director of Sarachi Group. Sarachi Group is having a diversified business with main focus on EPC, real estate development, agro-machinery, and manufacturing of paper and stationeries, having a turnover of over 1,000 CR. BTL EPC Limited, under the leadership of Mr. Ravi Todi, is a now leading turnkey solution provider to core industries like power, steel, oil and gas, mines, fertilizer, cement, coal sector, etc., with projects across India, in fact. With real estate projects spread over 15 million square feet, Sarachi is a prominent name in real estate sector in Eastern India. So I would request our first guest, Mr. Gyanesh Chaudhary, to share his views on this budget and give a rating of this budget on a scale of 1 to 10.
Namaskar, Sandeep ji. Hi, Ashish and Shima.
Hi, Gyanesh. How are you?
Very good.
How are you?
Very good. Hello, everyone. Thank you for, first of all, inviting me to this wonderful panel. If you want me to rate the budget, I think if I have to rate it overall, I think it was, I could say it's slightly above average. But for the renewable sector, I can say it's a 10 on 10. I think as a sector, we could not have asked for much more than what we got, and I can talk about it as we move along.
Okay.
Absolutely, Gyanesh. Waiting for your inputs.
We were expecting it also because this budget has given impetus to the solar energy. So we were expecting that you should be really.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So Gyanesh ji, we would request you to share your comments and views on the budget from the point of view of industry as such.
Thank you so much. My limited submission, I think I am surrounded by experts, and especially from the finance sector, and outnumbered by chartered accountants. So pardon me if I get my numbers or my data wrong, but coming from the industry side, I can tell you that in general, what we have seen is that for the last few years, there has been a phenomenal push towards Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat by the government of India sitting at the center. And this has been evident in various policies. They have targeted sector by sector. And because of which, I think in the last year, we saw the steel sector and the coal sector thrive and do really well. Some of the coal companies have really, steel companies have really reaped the benefits of improved steel prices and done really well. So I think all in all, it is infrastructure that is going to drive the economy. And like Sandeep ji said earlier, the Gati Shakti Yojana that they have come out with, this is quite revolutionary actually. And earlier when they talked about joining all the rivers, so this is, I think, something which takes from that, and it's a extension of all the earlier schemes of roads and highways, rail, waterways, everything all combined. And I think something like this will only transform how we look at industrialization, ease of operation, ease of business in India, and more economic stimulus and movement, because government spending leads to that. So a very welcome initiative. Other than that, I think I don't think there was too much changes in direct tax. So all of us were left a little high and dry, I'm sure. There was a lot of expectation, which was in the last year, which also didn't come through. But this year we were looking at it because it was election year in UP, and we thought that there would be some better things coming along, but maybe next year or maybe mid-year sometime. Coming to our sector, which is renewables, I think it has been a long uphill task, especially we as Vikram Solar. We have been the initial company 15 years ago to start this renewable manufacturing entity. To come from 15 years ago to now, to make India and the world come to realize that renewable is an important space. And Government of India, after taking oath at the center in 2014, did transform this mindset also. Before 2014, India had an ambition of 25 gigawatt to be done. I think there is some.
Priyanka, can you mute others, please?
Okay. India had before 14. India had a target of 25 gigawatts by 2030. The new government came in and straight away quadrupled it to 100 gigawatt. And 2 years later, they made it 260. And today we are sitting at 500 plus. And Honorable Prime Minister at the COP26, which happened a couple of months ago, has announced that by 2070, India will be energy neutral, carbon neutral. So India is leading the way. For all of you who don't know, India is featured or ranked as number 3 globally in solar renewable energy installation, number 2 being US and number 1 being China. And soon we should be able to replace US, not China, because China is still the largest installer, manufacturer, developer of solar energy. Having said that, I think because of the whole geopolitical shift that is happening and the challenges that the world is facing with our honorable neighbors at the PRC, the world is looking at alternative, safer supply lines, and our government realized that, and that's why the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the Make in India is very rightly given the right push in our sector also. India, while China is manufacturing close to 100 gigawatts of solar, India is still doing close to less than 10 or 11 or 12 gigawatt, which is hardly anything. Having said that, India and China started the solar manufacturing journey together around 2008. So while China took leaps and bounds, India took its own time. But yes, we are late to the party, but nevertheless, we are there now. With this current budget, what we have now are two things. Earlier this year, the government announced a PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme for 13 sectors, out of which renewable was one of them. We got an allocation of 4,500 crores to set up integrated manufacturing facilities. This was not enough, and we were trying to get increased allocations. Now, what the government has done in this budget, they have given us a whopping 19,000 crores, 19,200 crores or something, which will more than take care of all our requirements in the pipeline. Vikram Solar also is in this pipeline with a PLI allocation. So having said that, all of this combined will give India close to 40 gigawatts of manufacturing capacity in the next 2 to 3 years. This is a huge testament to India's commitment to solar manufacturing. The second thing that we got in this budget, which also goes out to say that India definitely is taking a stand on domestic manufacturing, is the imposition of basic custom duty of 40% on solar modules and 25% on solar cells. These are the two duty impositions that we have been expecting since the last few years. But Indian government did expect that domestic manufacturing would ramp up to a scale which it did not. So now is the time, and it's the right time for us to be able to meet the mark. The third thing that as a manufacturer, also in an SEZ, we have 2 manufacturing plants currently, one in Chennai and one in Special Economic Zone Falta. When the duty is imposed as a special economic zone, we are unable to cater to the DTA, domestic tariff area requirements. So we have been asking the government to give relief to units that are catering for exports as well as domestic tariff. The government, the Honorable FM did touch on it, that there are some landmark changes that are expected in the SEZ policy, SEZ Act. But we are left a little high and dry. We are waiting for it. And till such time, we probably will not be able to ship product from SEZ to DTA. But it's we are told that there is a new I'm forgetting the name, the MOORS. There is a new policy that is getting formulated, which will facilitate units to act as it's a duty deferment sort of a scheme where you could import duty free, but when you ship the product in DTA, you will have to pay the duty for equipment as well as for material. So government is hearing us, they are listening to us, and there is a lot of work that needs to be done by the industry. I'm very fortunate to be a part of this this growing industry of renewable, and this is the time when phenomenal change is going to happen. Again, very happy to be a part of this this session. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sandeep.
Sandeep, you are on mute.
Thank you so much, Ganesh.
Yeah, thank you so much. In fact, I'm so much for your inputs. In fact, on your industry
and
as
it's
well as
really
the
nice
overall
to
budget.
see surging ahead.
So our yeah.
Yes, Ganeshji, the words were really inspiring, and I am sure about your vision and your organization's vision of taking renewable energy and especially solar to And along with our country, I'm sure along with your organization, our country will also take it to far greater heights, and we will be, of course, be a self-sustained country as far as energy is concerned. Thanks a lot for
Absolutely.
your comment.
Thank you so much.
Rightly said, Vikas.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ganesh, for your, yeah.
So we have our next speaker, Mr. Ravi Todi. So I have given a brief introduction. So Mr. Ravi Todi is Managing Director of Sarachi Group, and Sarachi Group is having a diversified business. It main focuses on this EPC, real estate development, agro machinery, and manufacturing of paper and stationery. And BTL EPC Limited, one of the companies under the leadership of Mr. Ravi Todi, is now a leading turnkey solution provider to core industries like power, steel, oil, mines, fertilizer, etc. And Sarachi Group is a prominent real estate sector in Eastern India, in fact. So over to you, Mr. Ravi Todi. Yeah, Todi ji.
Thank you, Sandeep ji.
We want to have your views on the budget, including real estate and maybe the engineering side, and your rating on the scale of 1 to 10 on this budget.
Yeah, the rating part is the most difficult part. Thank you very much, Sandeep ji, for giving me this opportunity, inviting me. I heard Ganesh and I heard his views. Well, where do I start? One of the shortest budget speech I've heard, 1.5 hours. Very contrary to the fact it was last year, it was almost 3 hours. So, it was half the thing done on a made in India tablet. Started where, ended where, we didn't know. I'm being a little critical because I think we've read the budget. So I don't want to focus on what. Try to give you a industry perspective and also a common man's perspective on the budget, right? So started where, ended where. Totally devoid of social anything on the social front. It was like anything on the farmers, everything was avoided, which was very surprising, keeping in mind 5 elections are going to happen next month. So it was very, very, I think the focus was totally on Gati Shakti, the infrastructure and everything, which is very, very good. There's no doubt. It's a great, this thing, very futuristic, I would say.
Yeah,
we
it's
don't
a long-term approach they are taking.
Yeah, long-term approach. But today the problem in scenario, especially when we have gone through COVID times, people are looking at survival now. We are not looking at 5 years, 10 years. Nobody, I don't think we can have a vision of 5 or 10 years now. See what will happen after 5 years, 10 years. We really don't know. Question here is, how do I survive today? Be the industry, do the MSMEs, be a common man. It is how do we survive now? Which was never, it was not answered in the budget. It was something which was very left for one's imagination to understand what is going to happen. So they're talking about EPC. Now I'm into EPC, and that is where my industry perspective comes. Power industry, all the PSUs, all have orders. But where are we seeing the finishing of these orders? Where are we seeing when these projects will be actually executed? Some of the projects are being monitored by PMO's office also. But I'm working all the major PSU, be it NTPC, BHEL, NALCO, the power grids and everybody. And I'm telling you, there's no clarity on focusing of finishing of the projects. EPC companies are suffering so much because of BG retention. Huge outstanding, huge delays, cost overrun, nobody ready to take the bell the cat. The commodity prices have increased manifold. More than 40-50% of the prices have increased in commodities, steel and everything. Who's going to help to finish these projects? Because if we ask the private sector to go on out these projects, because most of these projects do not have a price variation clause. There's no PVC. The government now has to relook at the way they do the tenders for EPC. If they really want EPC to succeed, they want these infrastructure projects to succeed, they have to relook the tender policy. They have to look at how they are going to allow private sector to participate in such tenders and be a friendly one. It's not a one. Today we sign contracts, like when we are taking a loan from a bank, we sign thousands of documents. And if you read that document, we'll never be able to sign or take the loan. It's same with this. Either you sign it without any question, you agree, otherwise forget the tender. So this way it cannot work, and that is where the problem is. Banks are not supporting. The next biggest problem with banking is with EPC is that EPC is still in the negative list. There's no banks coming to fund EPC companies. No BG limits are being given. No capital limits are being given. In spite of having good orders, there's no banking support. So how EPC, how these infrastructure projects will be completed without these things in place? Today, bank guarantees, which are the most important element of a contract of infrastructure, go to a bank for a bank guarantee is now, they weight the bank guarantee at the same ratio as they give a fund-based thing. It had 100% liability. They say, if I give you a bank guarantee, I have to take that the risk level at 100% as I'm giving you a cash credit or a working capital. So again, these norms have changed since Nirav Modi time. There's a major scarcity, I would say, a scare factor in the bank, and that is why they are not ready to fund. So the biggest issue, if the government wants infrastructure projects to come, they have the Gati Shakti. They need to ensure banking to be more friendly, more liberal. Look at the track record, look at the cash flows. It cannot be and they want collaterals. Again, from where will EPC companies get collateral? So it has to be a cash-based lending. If my cash collections are 100 crores, I should be entitled to X amount of limits. So that is my first biggest concern on the budget, which is totally focused on infrastructure. Great, very futuristic. I think if it happens, really good. It will help all of us. Uh, though I am very bullish on the highway, on the roads, because I think Mr. Gadkari has really done a commendable job in that in the past few years. Quite a few of my true friends who are in highways and roads, they're very happy. A lot of issues have been resolved. Same should be done for other sectors also, maybe the power sector and other sectors also, mining, power, and other areas where they want in the infrastructure to happen. They have to do it. And bank guarantees also, they have to come out with an alternative mechanism. It cannot, the BGs are now getting, I would say, becoming an outdated mechanism. Everybody takes BG. NTPC gives a contract to BHL, they take a BG. BHL gives a contract to me, I take a BG. I give a contract to a third party, my smaller vendor, I take a BG. So what is the logic? All these BGs are sitting and it has no, it is just, you're paying 2%, 1% charges and it has no value. So that is a big question mark, some mechanism the government should come out to look at it. So this is my take on EPC. Engineering, brick and mortar, they are focusing on startup a lot, but there was hardly anything on MSME. Yes, they have given an additional 50,000 crores and extended the extra credit guarantee line till 2023. That's a very good move. That has been the lifeline saving of all the MSMEs. But I don't know if it is enough for MSMEs to survive, because orders have to come down from government, because government is the biggest buyer of everything, especially railway department, and all orders and payments are an issue, and payments continue to be a problem. So government is asking them to get in TREDS platform, RXL platform. Quite a few MSMEs, quite a few PSUs have still not registered on these platforms, which is very, very strange. And they are not very supportive, because they have to pay their bill in 45 days. The MSME gets their payment, but then they don't want to commit it because they don't have funds for after 45 days. So certain PSUs are really cash starved. Government to do something to capitalize them or come out with a thing. And especially on the cost run part, the commodity prices, government needs to come out with a policy to save both. Because if you talk to BHEL says NTPC is not giving me a price increase. NTPC says I cannot go to government for increase. So they should come down with some sort of a solution to take this issue out and help the projects to get finished. On real estate, I would like to say affordable housing segment, 48,000 crores, again further allocated under Pradhan Mantri. You have land digitalization of land records is a very organized move, but I think states government have to take active role in this land record digitalization, because that is where the critical part is. Certain states are very well ahead. Karnataka and all I know have digitalized the entire record, but this is a very welcome step, and all state government need to cooperate with this. There has been an increase in tax deduction on home loan interest, uh, uh, which is missing, which may be all over to relief home buyers. There's some ambiguity in that. No tax rebates have been given. Uh, there's a TDS deduction on non-agriculture immovable property will be on market value or oblique circle rate or agreed value, whichever is a property is valued more than 50 lakhs. Now, this is something which is again going to create more confusion. We really don't know how to land out circle rates, market rate. You know, there's always thing. Earlier it was on the transaction rate, but now they have put this new clause. See how this panned out. A digital rupee, a good move. Maybe one way of again monitoring the black money, trying to remove the black money from the system. For online property deals, it will definitely help. Let's hope. But I don't know about the e-passport. Uh, I am not aware of any other country who have introduced e-passport. So India will take the lead if we have this. But I don't know how it's going to work. If I go to London and whether I don't know how this e-passport. Maybe I think it's for when you're coming back, it will be useful for a entry or exit, something of that sort. Maybe that will help something good. But let's see how it is going to function. When will it come? But definitely a futuristic move on that part, which will really help. So these are my thing on certain levels, but overall rating wise, I this budget maybe a 5 or 6 to be very frank, not a very this thing, nothing major. I think people were expecting some tax rebates, especially the salaried people, middle class people, because of COVID. They wanted some relief. Nothing has come. Uh, uh, so I think by more time you guys will be more analyzing what are the other hidden tax they have done and all that. But SEZ they have come out with a overall of SEZ policy, which we look forward to it. This SEZ policy is an outdated policy introduced years back. But if that policy is upgraded and taken to a more practical level, keeping in mind, definitely it will help a lot of real estate players and other people to look at SEZs as a major. Hardly SEZs have come in the last 10 years after that. So this is what I want to say. Nothing more. I could have gone.
Raviji, what about this 80 lakh affordable housing? Is it not going to benefit real estate?
So the question here is, it will benefit. See, this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana scheme is on, but the problem is, like I'll tell you, West Bengal is not under that scheme because we didn't have HERA, RERA, all this issue confusion were there, and people were not funding us because we had our own RERA and all. Now new policy they have said we'll do it, but still not introduced. So it will help. The question is, uh, how much will the banks come forward to lend? That is a big, again, a question mark. Still, banks are very reluctant to lend, though they are lending directly to a consumer at 6%, 7%. But to fund a real estate company, there's a lot of apprehensions. So that is something we.
Okay. So you are rating around 5 to 6 on an overall basis for this budget.
Yeah, maybe
I think
biased or unbiased, I don't know, but little disappointing. I would say. I think I was in a CI meeting. I was in a couple of. Everybody didn't know where it started, where it ended, and pretty shocked. It ended in a very abrupt manner, no clarity, and fiscal deficit. They're saying a 9% to 10.2% growth fiscal deficit. They are, but then the figures for from 60,000 crores, the figures of privatization has down. Where are they going to get money? That is a big issue. LIC IPO hopefully will be announced. So money will come in. It have to spend. But there's no how much money they have allocated earlier. There was no clarity how much they have utilized, how much where they have spent the money. I think the budget should also speak of where the money has been going. It's a taxpayer's money, so they have a right to know how the money is being sent, where it is going, how much where allocation was done, how much was under utilization of the allocation. Otherwise, it's just allocation, but ultimately, kya ho raha hai, Bhagwan jane, nobody knows where the money is actually going. So these are questions which are always unanswered, and subsequent governments, I don't say BJP, every government has been doing this. And this budget, I think, ultimately is becoming a non-eventful day. Non-eventful. Earlier budget was, we looked at budgets in a very thing, but I think now it's going to become, as we go by, I think every year we'll see budget being reduced to mere formality or something of that sort.
What I can see is that from comments of Ravi is that the industry somewhere is feeling that the gap between expectation and reality is increasing.
Sure.
And at the same time, the pain point is that the planning is too much, but at the implementation level, it is very difficult to gauge that what has been implemented and what not.
True. See, I'll tell you very frankly, bankers, we do. Till January, nobody was ready to even lend money. Last 15 days, I'm seeing now banks are now finally woken up when they are seeing their deposits going on, increasing, then the lending coming down. So there's a big, the huge gap in between their so now they are little aggressive, and they're offering also very aggressive rates. I can share with you, we had a LRD at 9%. They have come down to 7% now. They're ready to come down the money because we are ready to pay them. They said, okay, we'll do at 7%. So now they are becoming desperate because they have to lend money. Earlier, they were stopped lending at all. The risk awareness was so high, the scares, I would say, whether they're scared or not. But now, hopefully, these banks have realized, but still they have to change their style. I think collateral based lending cannot work. Collateral based borrowing and NPAs are, whatever you say, last 7-8 years, so NPA, UPA has not been there. Then why NPAs are increasing? Still, NPAs are increasing of certain banks. Every day we see 10 ads or 15 ads in every paper of NPA law. So you have to look at it at the way that, why these NPLs are happening so much. Whether it is deliberate or it is a genuine default that's happening because of market circumstances. People are finding it very difficult to survive, the MSME especially. I'm the chairman of CI MSME Committee Eastern Region. I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of phone calls on how they are being. So these portals and all, they have merged also. Let's see how it's going to become more effective, the portals and all, the merger of the but earlier there were 4-5 portals. PMO, when you complain to these portals, the response is there, but there's no follow-up again on those because they need to be followed up and closed. So I see positively there. Government is definitely
understand your concern, in fact, Raviji. Very well understand. So thank you, Raviji, for your time, in fact. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all your time. Thank you.
So I will request Mr. Ashish Rastogi to take up, in fact, the direct taxation part, so that we understand direct tax in a more better way, what has come up in budget. Yeah.
You are not audible, Ashish. No, still not audible. We will just be starting the discussion on the tax proposals part, and we will just be starting. So In the meanwhile, whenever you have any questions related to the tax proposals, you can write on the chat box, and towards the end of the session, we will be taking questions and answers also separately, where you can ask your questions. So there's some technical issue. We'll just start immediately in 2 minutes.
Is it okay?
Next proposal.
Is it okay?
No, the sound is echoing.
Hello?
Still echoing.
Hello? बंद कर रहे हैं, इसको लैपटॉप को लेकर आइए बाहर। Yeah, sorry for this at my end. Yeah. What I wanted to say is that on each eve of the budget we have.
Yeah, you can start. You are audible now.
And each eve of the budget we expect some rate changes. We expect standard deductions to be announced. But on this budget, we have been left high and dry because there has been no announcement in respect of the rates of no changes in the rates of taxes, except that they have announced that for the cooperative society, there has been a rate change. And one welcome relief has been announced in terms of the long-term capital gain or where the surcharge rate has been put to 15%. So that is the only change, the rate change, apart from the cooperative society, जिसमें उन्होंने surcharge का rate, because India is thriving on a cooperative society, so they were bound to reduce the rate of surcharge because they were not at the level playing field. The next major announcement, which has been the updated returns, like till now we know about belated returns, we know about original returns, we know about revised returns, but for the first time they've introduced the concept of revised updated returns. Now this updated returns is that we all were thinking this, because it was always the demand of the country that something should be there, because there is so much of sharing of information. Department के पास में इतना access of information है from each every end that जो अपने पास में time limit बचता था, time बचता है जो returns को revise करने का, या for that matter when we have to file the revised returns or belated returns, that is so short that before, because you generally have only 1 to 5 months, that depending upon whether the due date of the filing the return is 30th November or for that matter 31st July. So for the first time they have introduced the concept of updated returns, but this seems to be a misnomer, because the reason is this: there are so many conditions where you cannot file an updated return, because they say you cannot file an updated return if it reduces your tax liability. Like for example, if your tax liability was 100 rupees and in your updated returns you are getting a tax liability of 90 rupees, you're not allowed to file. You're not allowed to reduce you're not allowed to increase your refund. You are not allowed to file a loss returns, because basically the idea is that it is like a 148 from the SSE side. Till now we have always heard about 148 from the department side, but this is for the first time this is 148 is from the SSE side, where you are not able to do a lot of things in terms of you are curtailed by the section, because if your proceedings have started, that is if you have received a scrutiny ka notice, or for that matter you have received a reassessment or recomputation ka notice, you are not allowed to file an updated return. Then again they say that then the most important clause which is there in the updated return is that if you are allowed to file it till 2 years. That in the first year, if you are filing the updated return, that is 1 year from the end of the relevant assessment year, then you have to pay 25% of the tax and the interest. Now, just imagine about a high-paying SSE, if he has left something to and he needs to revise that return, he will be literally, at the end of the day, he will be basically offering the entire income to the government. Because if you are, suppose your surcharge rate is 42% or the 37%, which comes to effectively 42, something like that. So you will be giving the entire income, because आपको टैक्स तो देना ही है, आपको इंटरेस्ट भी देना है, बट आपको साथ साथ में आपको उसका पूरा जो एडिशनल फी जो भी आप समझ लीजिए कि जो आपको एक्स्ट्रा 25% अगर आप 1 ईयर में फाइल करते हैं और अगर आप पोस्ट 1 ईयर फाइल करते हैं तो आपको 50% देना, मतलब फ्रॉम 1 ईयर to 2 years it is 50%. So literally you end up paying the entire amount as income. Then
Yeah.
the thing is that if you have got any receipt, if any search proceeding comes, then you are not allowed to file any updated returns. If आपके यहाँ survey आ जाता है या requisition of any books हो जाती है, तो आप लोगों को you are not allowed to file an updated return. You are allowed to file an updated report only once. That is, in the second time you don't get any opportunity. So the idea is this: key, when you are filing an updated return, you need to be very, very pretty sure that because that is the last opportunity when you can change anything. So updated returns it seems to be a good idea, but the time will say how many people will be able to avail the opportunity unless until it is absolutely a bona fide issue where you have left something and any information. And because one has to the business class has to see what is the cost benefit analysis in terms of what is the cost which he will be ending up paying when he's filing an updated return. Because updated returns entails a huge cost burden in terms of 25% of the additional fee, which I've already said. So it is something which time will only tell how this updated return is going to turn up. But it is definitely a good idea because you are getting an opportunity to rectify a bona fide error. The second issue which we would like to take up is regarding the virtual digital asset, which Vikash is going to speak about.
I think Anshumaji would like to add something. She was saying something about updated returns.
No, just adding on to what Ashish was saying, the updated returns is different from revised returns. अपडेटेड रिटर्न्स और रिवाइज रिटर्न्स दो अलग अलग चीजें हैं. हम अपडेटेड रिटर्न्स को अपना रिटर्न रिवाइज करने के लिए सिर्फ तभी यूज कर सकते हैं जब हमारी इनकम इंक्रीज हो रही है या हम और टैक्स लायबिलिटी भरना चाह रहे हैं. टू क्लेम एडिशनल रिफंड और टू डिक्लेयर अ लॉस और टू रिड्यूस आवर इनकम इज नॉट. So that is the thin line of difference between updated returns और revised returns जो हमको याद रखना है. जब speech में ये बात हुई थी तो एक बार लगा कि अच्छा revised returns का time extend हो गया. It is a form of revised returns, but effectively it is given to disclose additional tax liabilities. And as Ashish also mentioned, अगर हम additional tax liability disclose करते हैं तो उसके साथ 25% या 50% penalty देना mandatory. So this penalty issue is extremely important. आप खाली tax liability disclose करके निकल जाओगे ऐसा नहीं है. It's a kind of a voluntary disclosure, but you have to give the penalty along with the tax liability. The penalty is also applicable on the interest portion. तो अगर आप tax दे रहे हो 100 रुपया 10 रुपया आपका interest बन रहा है 234BC में, उसके तो 110 रुपए पे आपकी 25% पेनल्टी लगेगी. और अगर आप साल भर बाद डिस्क्लोज कर रहे हो, इन द सेकंड ईयर डिस्क्लोज कर रहे हो तो 50% पेनल्टी. So that's an important thing which I just wanted to reiterate. We'll move on to virtual digital asset. काफी इंटरेस्टिंग कॉन्सेप्ट है. हम लोग ने बहुत जनों ने क्रिप्टो का नाम तक नहीं सुना था उसके लिए suddenly now the entire country is talking about it. Vikash was most excited to discuss it.
In fact, virtual digital assets is something which is a new concept. अगर आप देखेंगे आपने लास्ट ईयर में बहुत नाम सुना होगा क्रिप्टो करेंसी में ये हो रहा है वो हो रहा है. So basically virtual digital
और जिन्होंने लास्ट ईयर नहीं सुना आप तो 2 दिन से खाली क्रिप्टो ही सुन रहे हैं.
तो क्रिप्टो करेंसी जो है वो बेसिकली क्या है, इट इज ऑल्सो अ पार्ट ऑफ वर्चुअल डिजिटल एसेट. गवर्नमेंट ने कंसेप्ट लाया है कि वर्चुअल डिजिटल एसेट को डिफाइन किया है, जो कि क्रिप्टो के अलावा और भी इसमें कई तरह के डिजिटल एसेट्स है, जैसे डिजिटल टोकन है या NFTs है, नॉन फंजिबल टोकन, डिजिटल रियल एस्टेट है. तो जैसे आज के दिन में क्या है, आप सपोज आपको इच्छा हो रही है कि भाई आपको कुतुब मीनार या फिर आपको ताजमहल के पास में एक जमीन चाहिए तो आप नहीं ले सकते हो, बट एक डिजिटल वर्ल्ड है जहाँ पे आप जाके स्टैचू ऑफ लिबर्टी के पास भी अपना एक वर्चुअल रियल एस्टेट खरीद सकते हो बाय पेइंग सम मनी. सो दिस इज आल्सो,
really is that
there are apps where people are buying. So this is something which is new. तो लास्ट ईयर सिर्फ 2021 में 20 मिलियन इंडियंस joined the crypto bandwagon. 20 million Indians. In fact, I am also one of them and tried my hand just for experimenting last year. तो गवर्नमेंट ने अभी तक इसके ऊपर इशू चल रहा था, लीगल है इलीगल है क्या है, बट अब इस पे टैक्स ला दिया. क्या टैक्स लाया कि दे आर सेइंग दैट इट इज अ टैक्स प्लस सरचार्ज एंड सेस एज एप्लीकेबल ऑन द ट्रांसफर ऑफ दिस डिजिटल एसेट या क्रिप्टो. फॉर द सेक ऑफ सिंप्लिसिटी वी विल कॉल इट क्रिप्टो इन दिस डिस्कशन. तो अगर आप क्रिप्टो करेंसी खरीद के बेचते हो तो whatever is the profit, उसके ऊपर फ्लैट 30% टैक्स प्लस सरचार्ज और सेस आपको देना है. You won't be able to claim any deduction of any expenditure या सेट ऑफ एनी अदर लॉस. कोई भी तरीके का आपको अलाउ नहीं होगा. और अगर आपको किसी साल में लॉस होता है तो आप वो सेट ऑफ कैरी फॉरवर्ड भी नहीं कर सकते हैं इसके अंदर में. सो ये एक इसके अंदर में प्रोविजन लाया गया है. दूसरा इसके अंदर में एक टीडीएस का प्रोविजन है. इफ यू आर अ परचेजर, यू आर परचेजिंग फ्रॉम एनी रेसिडेंट एनी सच डिजिटल एसेट, तो आपको 1% टीडीएस काटना है above 10,000 rupees. फॉर स्पेसिफाइड पर्सन कैटेगरीज ऑफ इंडिविजुअल एंड एचयूएफ ये लिमिट 50,000 कर दी गई है अगर आप कोई स्पेसिफाइड कैटेगरी ऑफ इंडिविजुअल एचयूएफ है. नहीं तो 10,000 के ऊपर अगर आप किसी से खरीदते हो तो 1% टीडीएस काटना है आपको. तीसरी बात है कि अगर आप किसी को गिफ्ट करते हो तो अगर रिलेटिव्स में करते हो तब तो ठीक है, नहीं तो अगर कोई गिफ्ट करते हो तो उस पर भी रेसिपिएंट को 30% टैक्स देना पड़ेगा. सो बेसिकली इसको एक तो टैक्स ब्रैकेट में ले आया गया है. एंड on this I would request Ashish to share some thoughts on this aspect, how income tax will perceive this.
Like one of the issue which is there ki, like if suppose if you are doing your transaction through WazirX, like in that case the WazirX will be responsible for deducting the TDS, because ultimately it is the person who is, because if you are doing the through the intermediary, that is, if you can say that they are an e-commerce operator, which is not the case, but in then that case they will be responsible for deducting the TDS. One of the issue which is there, which is very important to understand in this case, is this: if suppose you are having one transaction of crypto in which you are doing a loss of 20,000 rupees, and in one transaction you're doing a profit of some 50,000 rupees. So ultimately, what is the intention of the law, whether you need to pay 30 rupees per tax or whether you have to pay 50 rupees per tax, because the language of the act is key. The loss is not supposed to be set up, but what we are of the view, which is one of the view which we are taking, is this: key, we should be able to do the set off within the crypto during the year itself. मतलब इस साल में अगर मेरे को एक लॉस हो रहा है, एक ट्रांजैक्शन में मेरे को प्रॉफिट हो रहा है, तो we should be able to set up, because end of the day I think so the return should allow, because there should be a separate head for it, because the language says that crypto pay 30% tax and on the rest of the income the other taxes will be applicable. So one, you can take a view which the time will tell, and when the rules and all will be specified, whether you need to pay the flat 30% tax or whether it is going to be then coming within the eligible, you will be getting the basic exemption or not. But we are of the view the language of the act suggests that you need to pay taxes on the entire crypto, whatever the profit, because you're not allowed to, as Vikash has already said, that you're not allowed to carry forward the losses.
तो आशीष, हम लोग का 2 करेंसी होगा और एक करेंसी, मतलब 2 अलग हेड्स ऑफ अगर क्रिप्टो करेंसी होता है तो एक में लॉस है एक में प्रॉफिट है, वो आपस में सेट ऑफ नहीं करने देगा.
नहीं, वही बात है कि वो ड्यूरिंग द ईयर में जो ट्रांजैक्शन हुआ, आई थिंक सो दैट शुड बी अलाउड टू सेट अप. यू आर नॉट अलाउड टू कैरी फॉरवर्ड, बिकॉज़ यू आर नॉट, द
That is clear.
allowed to carry forward the losses. But one things have to be seen, that because the reason why they have brought this is that it is the rates which are applicable for 23-24. So the question is that what about the gains which people have done over this period, that is within the financial year 21-22, as Vikash is saying, he is doing crypto, so he has made profits in crypto. So now the question is that at what rate is Vikash going to pay taxes on his crypto? Like there was a view which was prevailing is that whether crypto पे business profit का tax लगेगा या whether उस पे capital gain का tax लगेगा. Things have been made clear by this budget that you have to pay a 30% tax का rate. But what about 21-22? There is a possibility that people were of the view it is an asset which is coming in the block of assets, because somewhere or the other the block of the assets which is there in income tax which has been defined there, this crypto should be there. So whether it may during the 21-22 one can levy short-term capital gain or long-term capital gain. Things are very clear from 22-23 that you need to pay at business profit, that is 30% tax. Not business profit, the flat 30% tax rate. But what about 21-22? So time will tell. We are of the view one should, because the spirit of the laws is that in order to be safe, you can go with 30% tax, because this is the prevalent for 22-23. But 21-22 may one can also take a view that since it was not there, so one can pay the capital gain tax.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's true.
So maybe ambiguity is still there, in fact.
Ambiguity ambiguity is still
Unless
there.
there is any clarification from department side.
Yeah, department.
Yeah, this is a new topic and new subject for the government as well. So as things move along, they will also
Yes,
issue
yes, yes.
clarity on this. So now we move on to the next issue,
Yeah.
which is a very important issue brought in, which is cash credit. So I would like Ashish to highlight this because this is a very important issue which is applicable across the sectors to everyone.
Like in this case, what one say कि the government is in a position is trying to settle the disputes, but one move or the other, the disputes of the litigations are bound to increase. Like in this case, what they have suggested is that in case of loans also, you need to give the source, because in earlier year, what was used to happen was that even only for share capital and share application money, आपको source बताना पड़ता था. But now what they have suggested is that in case of a loan also, you have to give the source. Now imagine a situation of if a company is taking a loan from any body corporate and he asks that body corporate person, what is your source? I know you are giving me loan, but I need to know your source. That is means the person who is taking the loan is stepping into the shoes of the assessing officer, because he is required to keep the records of the person कि जिससे मैं लोन ले रहा हूँ वो लोन कहाँ से लेके आ रहा है, whether उसका credit worthiness है कि नहीं है. So practically the budget has introduced the first time they have used the concept of entry operator. Now this is very shocking because it is an official document, and since it's a closed circuit we can discuss that they are saying entry operator. Now what does the department mean by an entry operator? They have used that terminology in the memorandum. Now this cash source is going to bring a lot of litigations, because we have been facing litigations over a period of time in terms of share capital and all, where low share capital was being added, but ultimately the matter went into litigation, and the tribunals, or for that matter High Court, has given relief. So things has to be fought in the manner that now in case of loan, or for that matter they can even bring for deposits. Like deposits के लिए भी आपको source बता रहा है. Now just imagine if you are taking a business deposit and you ask the person who is giving you money कि भाई मेरे को आपका source भी चाहिए. So you are basically doing his assessment, which is going to be very making doing business really difficult, because nobody would like to share these data कि मैं पैसा कहाँ से ला रहा हूँ, because you are taking loan from me. So that is going to be a big issue. But things have come into picture, things have been introduced, and one has to face the situation and do the business. But it is really very because
what can be the solution? In fact, shall we keep the documentation? I
yeah,
think
we have to keep the documentation, because the tax is going to be levied by the person who is taking the money. So he has to practically maintain that पूरा trail कि भाई मेरे को पैसा कहाँ से मिला, तुमको पैसा कहाँ से मिला, मेरे को उसका डॉक्यूमेंटेशन चाहिए, मेरे को आपका ITR का कॉपी चाहिए, मेरे को उसका भी कॉपी चाहिए कि just to prove that whether उसका credit worthiness.
So maybe a declaration will do, I think here.
Yeah, declaration has to be, because you are taking in case you are taking a loan, you need to have a declaration from the party from whom you are taking the money, that I need the source from where you are getting the money to give it to me. So it's going to be a bit thing. We have been doing this for share capital, share application money. Now we need to do for for loans also. Or time will tell, we may also have to do for business deposits also, because any credit can be christened as a loan by the department. So things are little, but this is ease of doing
we
business.
need to be cautious enough, because in recent past we have seen that the investigation department has been sending a lot of notices over these kind of transactions, of loan transactions. So now they will also get now teeth to fight from department side, that now they have got a legal provision to back up this. So now we would move to another important area, which is trust and NGO. There have been a lot of changes on trust and NGO. So Ashish, in fact, you have been studying these provisions day and night. So I'm sure there is something to speak, at least, because there is a huge lot of changes. Yeah.
So there are a hell lot of changes.
India has always been a country where the charity is in the blood. Like in terms of, there are a lot of organizations which are doing a lot of good charitable work. But now what is happening is that because of the abuse in the past years, where people were taking registration and there was misutilization of the trust money. So now what is happening is that basically it is two ways it works. One is the 1023C organized institutions, that is those who are running educational institutions, or for that matter medical hospitals and all. The other is the charitable trust who are doing all charity work in terms of they are maybe running a temple, or they may be doing some charitable work, maybe basically giving donations to other entities who are taking who are doing charitable work. So now what is there? The intention of the government is to align both the streams. That is the language which they are saying. There are two regimes. One regime belongs to the old regime and the new regime. The new regime is the one which is basically the charitable institutions, those who are having 12-acre exemptions, 11 who are getting exemptions under 11, and one is the 1023C organizations. So practically they are aligning both the provisions. Earlier they were like basically both the institutions have to spend the money in 5 years. One of the change which has brought that key in case of a trust, which is 12-acre trust, there was a key in the 6th year, like because if you have suppose you have got a surplus money and you are not able to spend that money because you did not have a proper opportunity to invest the money and you were exercising the option. So earlier what used to happen that after the expiry of 5 years, that is in the 6th year, the amount was about to be taxed. Now they have brought that amount in the end of the 5th year only you need to pay the taxes. If you not spend the money in the fifth year, then you have to pay the taxes. For even for 1023 organization, they have brought this into the statute that they also have to spend the money within the 5 years. If they have not spent the money, and they will be taxed. The second issue, which is going to be really challenging, is this key. They have brought the concept of basically a penalty provisions there, where because if you are suppose a specified organization, specified SSC, that is if you are a trustee or you are a huge contributor to any charitable trust, and any sort of a benefit which has been passed on to you in terms of, so that is going to be taxed. The penalty is going to be levied at 100% of the amount for the first penalty, first violations, and for the second violation the penalty is going to be 200%. That is twice the amount. So this is going to be really very, very difficult because these are all very gray area whether you are passing on anybody because if you are a trustee, you are availing the basically the assets of the trust. Suppose if you are having a car, so the department may realize that this is the benefit which you are getting. So this is going to be a big hassle in case of a charitable trust, because they can because this penalty provision is going to be brought in this. The third is that is a major change is that कि बहुत सारे अपने यहाँ पे charitable trust है, वो basically temples, mosques, ये गुरुद्वारा चलाते हैं. तो वहां पे क्या था कि ये था कि जो मिल रहा था उसका टैक्स ट्रीटमेंट क्या होगा. So now they have said, they brought into the statute that you can credit it to the corpus of your trust, but you have to follow certain rules. That is, that money has to be utilized only for the purpose for which the trust has been incorporated. In case you have to keep that money invested in the 11.5. That is the statute की भी आपका fixed deposits करना है. So basically ये एक चीज है जहाँ पे clarity आ रही है. So the government is trying to bring the clarity. The government is trying to basically tighten all the ends which were loose ends. So a charitable trust में ये सब major changes आए हैं कि charitable trust है, उसके बाद में उनका exemption का criteria है कि exemption जो अभी आया था कि जो registered हो गए थे charitable trust, अभी उनका deregistration उनका cancel भी हो सकता है registration. The powers have been given to the commissioners. They have diluted the powers. So a lot of things are there which has been at end of the charitable trust.
ठीक है, बढ़िया ना, टाइम तो हो ही गया.
बीच में देरी.
So can we take up next area?
I think there are other provisions also on income tax, but we can take maybe maximum one or two more quickly within a minute or so. So Ashish, would you like to speak on this TDS on the benefit of perquisite of business profession?
This is what has happened is that in our because the lot of businesses में क्या हो रहा था कि benefits because क्या हो रहा था कि जैसे आप समझ लीजिए आपने कोई targets achieve किया और आपने उसको targets को achieve किया तो आपको एक foreign का trip मिल गया. Like medical institution, medical business में ये बहुत होता था. For that matter, any business जिसमें भी basically mobiles है जहाँ पे आप target achieve करते हो आपको एक trip मिल जाता है. Now what is going to happen is that if that benefit of perquisite is going to be taxed at the market value. The provision was already there in the statute, but there was no mechanism by the department to catch it. Now what they have brought in the statute is that TDS is going to be levied on it. So the person who is going to make the payment for these tickets or for that matter, आप कोई भी बेनिफिट दे रहे हैं, वो उसके ऊपर में मार्केट वैल्यू पे टीडीएस काटेगा. सो ऑब्वियसली क्या होगा कि जब वो मार्केट वैल्यू पे टीडीएस काटेगा तो ट्रांजैक्शन आर गोइंग टू बी कैप्चर्ड. लाइक फार्मास्यूटिकल इंडस्ट्री, मेडिकल इंडस्ट्री में तो ये बहुत प्रेवलेंट था, बिकॉज इसके ऊपर में बहुत बड़ा केस लॉज भी हुए थे, डिपार्टमेंट ने सर्कुलर्स भी इशू किए थे. बट नाउ दिस सर्कुलर, अभी क्या होगा कि ये बिकॉज जो भी बिजनेसेस होंगी वो अगर कोई भी तरीके का बेनिफिट या परक्विजिट देता है अपने बिजनेस से जो रिलेटेड है, उसके ऊपर में आपका टैक्स लेवी होगा. तो टैक्स तो पहले भी लेवी होगा था, लेकिन अब उसमें टीडीएस आ गया. 20,000 के ऊपर होगा तो उसमें टीडीएस कटेगा. सो ऑटोमेटिकली क्या होगा कि ये ट्रांजैक्शन सब कैप्चर हो जाएंगे. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट एक जो मेजर एक जो बिजनेस के लिए है कि अगर आप कोई भी, पहले क्या हो रहा था कि अगर आप कोई फॉरेन में कोई भी वायलेशन कर रहे थे तो उसका कोई टैक्सिंग मैकेनिज्म नहीं था. अभी उन्होंने उसको स्टैट्यूट में ला दिया, बिकॉज the world is a small place now. The businesses are being carried on all over the world. So now अगर आप कोई भी वायलेशन फॉरेन में भी करते तो उसका वो खर्चा डिसला हो जाएगा इंडिया में. Apart from that, they have also stressed upon that any compounding of any offenses if you do, like आज कोई भी हम offenses, जैसे लीजिए हमने आरओसी का कोई फॉर्म फाइल नहीं किया, उसके लिए हमने आरओसी का कोई भी वायलेशन उसको हमने कंपाउंड कराया, या हमने सेबी का कोई वायलेशन किया उसको हमने कंपाउंड कराया. So now they have brought in the statute that those culture can be disallowed. So it is definitely going to be very difficult for the business. But this is what the provision is, that if there is any violation of law and you're making any payment for that violation of law, that expenses are going to be disallowed. But time is going to tell ki which expenses they are going to treat, and more clarity is going to come. But what we are thinking, to be on the cautious side, ki any expenses which you are making a payment for any violation of law, like agar aapne no parking ke liye bhi paisa diya, so that also they can say that it is a violation of any law. So you आपको ये फीस, ये आपको ये जो आपने इसका पेमेंट किया इसको आपको अलाउ नहीं होगा.
Right. Yeah. So there are other changes also, but we'll come back to them later if time permits.
If you can just speak about this stamp duty, TDS on property, which is going to be
Okay. See, basically, as you all are aware that if you purchase any property whose value is exceeding 50 lakh rupees, you need to deduct TDS at the rate of 1%. करंटली ये प्रोविजन है कि अगर आप कुछ भी खरीदते हो प्रॉपर्टी जिसकी वैल्यू 50 लाख से ऊपर है तो आपको 1% टीडीएस काटना पड़ता है. अभी तक क्या था कि जो कंसिडरेशन है वो आपकी अग्रीमेंट या कन्वेंस की जो कंसिडरेशन थी उस पर डिपेंड करता था. बट नाउ देयर हैज बीन अ चेंज प्रपोज्ड दैट अगर आप कोई प्रॉपर्टी खरीदते हो और उसकी स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू आपकी कंसिडरेशन से ज्यादा है तो वो स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू पे आपको टीडीएस काटना पड़ेगा. तो सपोज आपने कोई प्रॉपर्टी खरीदी जिसकी वैल्यू है 1 करोड़ रुपए, लेकिन उसकी स्टैम्प ड्यूटी वैल्यू सपोज है 2 करोड़ रुपया, तो आपको टीडीएस 2 करोड़ रुपए का है. इससे नुकसान क्या होगा कि जो परचेजर है, जो सेलर है, उसके 26AS में 2 करोड़ एज एन इनकम दिखेगा. हालांकि आपने परचेज किया 1 करोड़ में, पर यू हैव टू डिडक्ट टीडीएस ऑन द स्टैम्प वैल्यू इफ इज इट हायर देन द कंसिडरेशन. तो उस पर 1% टीडीएस अगर आप काटोगे तो 26AS में ज्यादा आ जाएगा. तो इस केस में क्या होगा कि एक मिसमैच रहेगा वेयर द सेलर विल शो इनकम ऑफ 1 crore but the 26AS will reflect 2 crores. So there will be notices. So we have to be careful.
So department, in our view, what do you think, Vikash, in this case is कि ये जो 10% का तो वो gap मिलता है, तो आज भी ये है कि 10% का अगर difference होता है तो that you can
yes, that will be continued. वो 10% gap will be allowed.
वो gap is there, but then ये stamp duty पे जो TDS का जो आ गया है, तो that mismatch of 10% will always be there.
Of course, this will always be there. Yes. So I think now we move to the next leg of discussion. Then we will come back to the question answers also. We will request Sandeep to share his views in brief on the customs related proposals and changes. Sandeep.
So
then we will take up GST as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I will just quickly touch upon this custom side. So basically there are some reductions or maybe increase in the custom duty rate. So due to which some of the products have become cheaper and other are dearer in fact. So the products which have become cheaper includes clothes, your steel scrap, methyl alcohol, gemstone, diamonds, chemicals needed for petroleum products, mobile phones, cocoa beans in fact, acetic acid, mobile phone chargers, camera lens for cellular mobile phones, and these have become cheaper in fact because of reduction of this custom duty. And because of increase in customs duty, umbrellas, smart meters, solar modules, unblended petrol and diesel, single multiple loudspeakers, imitation jewelry, solar cells, X-ray machines, headphone, earphones, and part of some electronic toys. These have become, in fact, costlier because of this change in tax rates. This is the overall tax structure changes in customs duty. So you can take up GST as well. So we have little time left, in fact. Yeah.
Yeah. Anshumaji, you can share the relevant proposals related to GST, please.
अब GST में तो रोज ही चेंजेस होते रहते हैं, तो बट अभी बजट में जो रेलेवेंट मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट चेंज GST में आया है, जिसके बारे में बजट स्पीच में कहीं कोई डिस्कशन नहीं था, but when we opened the fine print, we were very surprised to find that there are a lot of changes which have not been actually discussed during the budget speech, especially with regard to input tax credit. जब GST इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ था तब इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट ऐसा चीज था जो आपको सब चीज पे मिलेगा. GST जब इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ था, the entire concept was of a seamless credit, which formed the entire backbone of the structure of the GST law. That आप कोई भी खर्चा बिजनेस का करोगे, automatically you get the input tax credit for that expense. Then we had a blocked credit का list कि जिसमें कुछ क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा. But this budget now seeks to treat everyone as a defaulter, and basically input tax credit पे काफी restrictions impose हो गए हैं, and very silently and quietly within the law, but it's going to have very far-reaching implications. Firstly, they are saying कि आप जो input credit ले सकते हो वो सिर्फ DSTR 2B के basis पे ले सकते हो, which is basically a summary of the outward supplies which have been filed by your suppliers. अब आपके सप्लायर ने, अभी तक जो कॉन्सेप्ट था कि अगर आपके सप्लायर ने टाइम से अपना GSTR 1 नहीं फाइल किया, अपना आउटपुट सप्लाई नहीं फाइल किया, तो आपका क्रेडिट ब्लॉक हो जाएगा. पर अब लॉ में ला दिया है कि अगर सामने वाला डिफॉल्ट किया अपने टैक्स के पेमेंट में, तो भी आपको इनपुट आपका इनपुट क्रेडिट 2B में रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है, पर आपको वो क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगा क्योंकि सामने वाले ने डिफॉल्ट किया है टैक्स में, और 2B में उस क्रेडिट को ब्लॉक दिखा दिया जाएगा. अब 2B में वो क्रेडिट क्यों ब्लॉक है कि आपको पता लगेगा कि नहीं पता चलेगा, अभी हमें नहीं पता, बट it will be blocked in your 2B and you cannot avail that credit. Further, they have given a series of reasons why input tax credit would be blocked. First reason कि आपका 2B आपने सामने वाले ने टैक्स पेमेंट नहीं किया. सेकंड रीजन, सामने वाले ने GSTR 1 में ज्यादा आउटपुट टैक्स लायबिलिटी दिखाई और 3B से जब पेमेंट करने गया तो कम अमाउंट पे पेमेंट किया. उस केस में भी आपका इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट ब्लॉक हो जाएगा. सप्लायर की गलती, ब्लॉक्ड इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट आपका हो जाएगा. 2B में ब्लॉक दिखाएगा अगर आप उससे ज्यादा क्रेडिट नहीं ले सकते हो. लॉ में क्लियर सेक्शन में अमेंडमेंट ला दी. थर्डली, दे हैव सेड दैट अगर जो आपका सप्लायर है उसने एक्सेस इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट अवेल किया है, तो अभी तक उसने अपने टैक्सेस नहीं भरे थे इसलिए आपका इनपुट क्रेडिट ब्लॉक्ड हो रहा था. अब अगर उसने इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट भी ज्यादा लेके रखा है तो आपका इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट ब्लॉक करने का प्रोविजन लॉ में ला दिया है. फोर्थली, दे आर सेइंग दैट एक सेक्शन नया ला दिया है जिसमें बोला है कि गवर्नमेंट के पास पावर्स रहेगा, CBIC के पास पावर्स रहेगा रूल्स निकालने का. दे विल टेक आउट रूल्स एंड इन दैट रूल दे कैन स्पेसिफाई who are the people who cannot utilize their entire credit balance to pay their taxes. So suppose आपके पास क्रेडिट लेजर में 100 रुपए का बैलेंस है और आपका 80 रुपए का टैक्स लायबिलिटी है, तो क्या आप वो एंटायर 100 रुपीज उस क्रेडिट से आज के दिन पेमेंट कर सकते हो? बट गवर्नमेंट के पास ये पावर है कि वो रेस्ट्रिक्ट करके बोले कि नहीं, इतना मिनिमम परसेंटेज ऑफ आउटपुट लायबिलिटी आपको कैश से पेमेंट करना पड़ेगा. यू कैन नॉट यूटिलाइज योर इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट. In which case, again, there will be a mismatch. There will be a dichotomy. If your supplier has violated this particular provision, अगर उसको बोला है कि आप एक ही परसेंटेज का आउटपुट लायबिलिटी का इनपुट क्रेडिट यूज कर सकते हो और ये प्रोविजन उसने वायलेट करके अपने टैक्सेस भरे होंगे, तो उस केस में भी the input tax credit which you are availing on the basis of the supplies made by that outward supplier will be blocked. So, to summarize this discussion, basically input tax credits have been restricted to a very, very huge extent on a daily basis, to month-on-month basis, to find out, to reconcile. Already reconciling your input credit with your books of accounts input credit. एक total input credit आता है, एक आपके books of accounts में आता है. उसको already reconcile करना has become a humongous task. and this task is only going to increase going further. Input tax credit avail karna apne aap mein Mahabharat hone wali hai, is what we are understanding from the primary reading of the law. We are awaiting notifications which will amend the rules, because there are a lot of sections which are based on what will be prescribed in the rules, and huge powers have been given. Huge powers have been given कि rules में क्या क्या prescribe हो सकता है. So basically the act has been amended, is proposed to be amended to a large extent, where input tax credit का blockage काफी huge हो सकता है going forward. There's another section which is also saying that अगर आपने कोई credit ऐसा ले लिया है जिसका आउटवर्ड टैक्स सप्लायर ने नहीं पेमेंट किया है, तो आपको वो क्रेडिट को रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा. तो अब डिपार्टमेंटल ऑफिसर्स के पास ये पावर है कि अगर आपने कोई क्रेडिट ऐसा ले लिया है किसी ऐसे सप्लायर से जिसने अपने टैक्सेस का पेमेंट नहीं किया है, तो डिपार्टमेंट ना केवल उससे रिकवरी करेगी, बट इट हैज द पावर टू कम एंड टेल यू दैट यू रिवर्स द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट विद इंटरेस्ट. So these are certain changes in GST which we must keep in mind going forward. If this is definitely going to be a big hindrance to ease of
Hello. I think there's some technical issue at Anshumaji's end. So basically, अब क्या है कि what she was saying is that कि GST में क्या था, पहले तो हमें सिर्फ इतना देखना पड़ता था कि भाई टैक्स इनवॉइस आ गई कि नहीं, गुड्स आ गए कि नहीं. पहले हम देखते थे टैक्स इनवॉइस आई, फिर देखे गुड्स आए कि नहीं, फिर चलिए हमने पेमेंट भी 6 महीने में कर दिया, और उसके बाद में हमको ये भी देखना पड़ता था सामने वाले ने 2B में लाया कि नहीं हमारे, और उसने अपना पेमेंट किया कि नहीं. इतना तक होने के बाद में हम क्लेम कर पाते थे. पर अब एडिशनली गवर्नमेंट ने और रेस्ट्रिक्शंस लगा दिए कि अब हमें सप्लायर के वी हैव टू स्टेप इनटू द शूज ऑफ द सप्लायर एंड देन चेक बेसिकली कि भाई सप्लायर ने पेमेंट ठीक से किया कि नहीं, सप्लायर ने वो लीगली जितना उसको अलाउड है क्रेडिट उतना ही लिया कि नहीं, supplier has made the valid payment or not, and there will be challenges in this which we feel that government will bring in clarifications to. But one thing is for sure, that all of us need to have a robust MIS system in our offices wherein a regular RICO with the input versus the output of the suppliers has to be made on a regular basis. So this is one area where you all need to strengthen the internal controls.
Moving further, GST में couple of changes और है जो हम point करना चाहेंगे. There are numerous changes, but just couple of more important changes which we would like to deliberate on for the next 1 minute. एक तो अभी तक ये रूल था कि अगर आपको कोई amendment करना है किसी लॉ में,
Yeah, please carry on. Carry on. Hello.
I think there is some issue with the internet connection. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
You are audible.
All right. Okay, great. So अभी तक एक प्रोविजन था कि अगर किसी भी फाइनेंशियल ईयर का इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट आपको सब्सिक्वेंट फाइनेंशियल ईयर में देना है, तो हमारे पास 21-22 के कुछ बिल्स हैं जो हमारे पास रखे हैं, और हम वो बिल हमको बाद में मिलता है, तो मार्च 2022 तक हम उस बिल की क्रेडिट नहीं लेते हैं. So there was a time limit that till 30th September of the next year we could claim the credit of those invoices for which we have not claimed the credit in the particular financial year. Now this time limit has been extended from 30th September to 30th November. So this is a welcome provision. A lot of balance sheets are finalized later, as we understand. There are a lot of expenses जो हम backdate में book करते हैं, तो उसके लिए प्रोविजन बैकडेट में एक्सपेंसेस नहीं भी बुक करते, तो बहुत सारे एक्सपेंसेस होते हैं जो प्रीवियस फाइनेंशियल ईयर के हम करंट फाइनेंशियल ईयर में बुक करते हैं, तो उसके लिए ये वेलकम प्रोविजन है कि आप 30 नवंबर तक एक्सटेंड कर दिया है ये टाइम लिमिट. 30 नवंबर का टाइम लिमिट और एक दो केसेस के लिए एक्सटेंड किया है. अमेंडमेंट ऑफ GST 1 and 3B which was allowed to be done only till the 30th September of next year is now extended till 30th November. Again, a very welcome provision. Also, rectification of TCS returns can be done till 30th November, which was allowed only till 30th September of the following financial year. And issuance of credit notes. Any supplies which are made during a particular financial year, अगर उसके against कोई credit note GST का issue करना था, तो उसका provision was available only till the 30th September of the next financial year. Now these credit notes can be issued till 30th November. And the last thing which we would like to discuss under GST today is the sequential filing of GST returns. ये observe किया हुआ था, department ने भी observe किया that lot of people used to file their GSTR 1 पर 3B नहीं file करते थे. Means outward supplies disclose हो जाती थी पर उसके ऊपर tax payments नहीं होते थे. To curb that, GST portal was already functioning at a level where अगर आप एक महीने की GSTR 1 और 3B नहीं फाइल करते हो, रिटर्न्स नहीं फाइल करते हो, तो नेक्स्ट मंथ you were not allowed to file the GSTR 1 and 3 unless you complied with the earlier month's requirement. Now, this particular provision has been brought into the Act to regularize sequential filing. There is another small point on interest under Section 50, subsection 3, which Vikashji would like to take up. Another interesting, very interesting point. Interest की बहुत सारी notices आती है department से. Interest payment under GST. So very quickly we'll touch on that before we take up question answers from the house.
Yeah. So basically, interest under Section 53, this provision has been amended, and now what they are saying is that, and this amendment is retrospective with effect from 1st of July 2017, the interest will be levied on credit which is availed and utilized, not only on availed. So this is a kind of a good move, we can say, that now whatever interest if you have availed and you have not utilized, suppose ki in the month of July 2017 you have availed any TRAN credit, or post that also you have availed credits, and some part of that credit you have not utilized and that credit gets disallowed. So you will not be charged any interest if any such ineligible credit has been availed but not utilized. So this is good in the sense that in cases where some people have, claimed TRAN credit and due to some disputes, they have still not used it. They are waiting for some judgments and some things in their favor. So it will be a good benefit for them. And the rate of interest also, if applicable on availed and utilized, it will be 18% per annum. So maybe a lot of notices which people have received in the past now can be, treated beneficially in the favor of SSE in the light of this provision. So I think these were some of the important judgments on income tax, customs, and GST as well. Of course, there are a lot other judgments which we have shared our document today, the budget document, which most of you must have received. We have mailed also and sent on WhatsApp, and it is also uploaded on our website. So if any of you have not received, you can check our website or mail us at info@garvca.com. We will be happy to share that with you. It contains a detailed analysis of all the budget proposals.